Well, this was surprising. How does Watch Dogs 1 play on Xbox 360 in 2024? This was a game that looked amazing in E3 screenshots, but when it finally released, it turned out to be a bit of a dog. Although, I was one of the few people out there who enjoyed it back in the day. Playing this on Xbox 360 for the first time in years could be a bit of a disaster. Let's see how well it holds up and whether it's playable or not. First impressions. So we're about to load up Watch Dogs on the Xbox 360 for the first time. This is my initial reaction to this game and whether it's aged badly or not. I'm actually really looking forward to this. Let's get into the game. My old game save is still on this from the looks of it. So let's see how it plays. I think you're going to need rations when waiting for this to load, for Christ's sake. Alright, here we go. Without sounding like a whiny bitch, first impressions, that texture looks utter dog. Let's move forward a bit and see what it's... Oh, bloody hell. I mean, Microsoft PowerPoint FC, you know what I mean? Jesus, it feels very choppy. But that is to be expected. I think this must run at 30 FPS or lower. I mean, it's got to be less than 30 FPS, isn't it, really? I would expect it to be about 25. But I've also got to say, is it just me, or the visuals don't actually look too bad? Like the shadows and the way the game looks isn't too bad. It might just be because we're down an alleyway. We need to go out to the street. God, Jesus, some of the textures here look pretty bad, to be fair. So we're out on the street now. This is where the game would struggle, if anything. It kind of reminds me of playing on the Wii back in the day. You know, that shitty console that was literally named after piss? It kind of reminds me of that console because the graphics on that was so shit back in the day. This console is bloody old now, so what doesn't help is I've played this game in 4K on my PC recently, so it's going to look worse than normal. If I was to be brutally honest, I thought it was going to look a bit worse. Then again, we haven't driven a car yet, so let's do that now because we need to see how the game performs. Get out of it, you dumbass. Right, so we're driving about. I'd love to know what kind of FPS this is actually pushing. There isn't many NPCs on the streets, as you can imagine. Boom! Jeez. Oh, bloody hell. Looks like someone's just pissed all over my screen. Can't see shit. Gotta say, I feel like I'm getting used to the FPS already. Like, it doesn't feel as choppy now. First impressions, it was a bit of a shock to the system at the start, but I've already started to get used to it. And the game does feel very much playable. But this could change as I play this more and more on the Xbox 360. So let's find out. Graphics. So after playing this for a number of hours, I've got to say, for a game that released in 2014 on a console that wasn't anywhere near as powerful as the Xbox One, it could be worse. Yes, it's certainly not going to give you a rod on visually, but I did kind of expect it to be worse. The textures at times do look dog, and the draw distance is worse than the state of your nan's legs. But after a while, I got used to the dutty visuals. Comparing it to the 4K PC graphics is kinda mind-blowing though. The ugly visuals is something you can get used to eventually, and doesn't hold the game back too much. But how well does it perform on the Xbox 360? Performance. So as expected, loading screens are longer than the shit that drips from your ass after eating too many noodles, and it's kinda painful at times, purely because nowadays we are spoiled with the non-existent or quick loading screens thanks to our modern systems. Once you do get in the game and you've aged to about 69 years old, after collecting your pension, the piss poor FPS will be immediately apparent. I would hazard a guess that this game runs under 30 FPS. But once again, despite being a massive tart who cares for FPS and graphics, I got used to the PowerPoint slideshow after a while. It wasn't until afterwards, when I played a modern game on a current gen system, that I realised just how much we forget how far games have come. The FPS and loading screens aren't pretty, but it's not hemorrhoid level painful like Starfield when you're looking at the damn things more than your own dick. The open world. Compared to the PC version, you will notice right away the limited amount of NPCs walking the streets and the traffic on the road. But this isn't the game's fault. The Xbox 360 just wasn't as capable. What I did find impressive is how alive the world feels, despite being choked harder than when you enter some reeking old bastard's house due to the limitations of the Xbox 360. Regardless of this, it feels surprisingly alive. NPCs act like people and react to each other. It never feels like they are are just hopelessly walking around. Hacking a set of traffic lights will cause NPCs to argue with each other, and it literally does feel like your actions have consequences in the open world, unlike other games that can feel rather dead at times. The lack of populated areas are made up by the somewhat intelligent AI that don't feel like lifeless droids ready to be hacked to buggery. Gameplay. So is this game even fun to play in 2024? This is where things get interesting. Don't get me wrong, the driving mechanics are dog. And when I say dog, I mean dog water. Wouldn't even describe how pissed the driving is. I think old Simpsons Hit and Run felt more realistic. Hand-to-hand combat is basic, but it has some cool animations. However, there is still fun to be had. Messing with NPCs and enemies through the use of hacking is still fun as hell, and it's still entertaining walking down the street and finding out all the dirty little secrets these NPCs are hiding. From Class A cucks to old bastards who don't just sit on their arse all day waiting to die. The hacking isn't as diverse or expanded compared to later Watch Dogs games, but still has enough things to hack to keep your enjoyment high. It still annoys me how hacking traffic lights was removed in Watch Dogs Legion. At least you can do it here. Gunplay is also solid and doesn't feel too dated, but you will want to take a stealthy approach and toy with enemies instead of straight up killing them with a bullet between the eyes. The parkour in this game is pretty basic and clunky, but this wasn't really focused on until Watch Dogs 2. It's not really the end of the world. More importantly, this game is still very fun to play, and the gameplay doesn't feel too dated overall. This might be because the game is kind of unique compared to other open world releases, and doesn't just rely on go here, shoot this bloke, go there, twat this munter. Instead, it relies on stealth and your surroundings to hack your way through missions instead of straight up killing. In terms of the story, I'm not going to dive into this in detail as it feels unnecessary for this video, but what I will say, out of all the Watch Dogs games, this is the one that makes the main character Aiden the most likeable and interesting, and has a much more serious tone, whilst the other games are less serious and more comedic. And it does have one of the best stories out of the series. But going back to the overall gameplay, this is the strongest aspect of Watch Dogs 1 and really helps the game push through the poor performance and visuals. Like the old saying goes, gameplay over graphics. Is Watch Dogs 1 on Xbox 360 playable? Despite the expected lackluster performance the Xbox 360 version provides, the gameplay really does make this game hold up still. You'll get used to the dog shit FPS after a while, and you will become immersed in the game, which does make it playable in 2024. I always felt like Watch Dogs 1 got a lot of unneeded hate when it first came out, purely down to it not reaching these sky-high expectations everyone had. It was never a perfect game, but I always had a soft spot for it. Playing it again on Xbox 360 was nostalgic, but it wouldn't be my choice of platform. If you did want to play this again in 2024, if possible, get it on PC and install the E3 graphics mod. I've made a video on this. You need to check this out. There is a link down below. Otherwise, playing this on any other modern system would be the way to go, and I would highly recommend doing so if you wish to revisit it or play it for the first time. So what did you think of Watch Dogs 1 back in the day? Was the hate necessary? I would love to know your thoughts on this, and to find out why the new Fallout 4 Next Gen update really isn't as good as some people are making out, make sure to click the card on screen. Thank you guys for watching as always, and have a great rest of your day.